Hello, and welcome to episode 32 of the Time to Calibrate podcast. I'm Mark Levesque. Joining me today are Bob Allaby from the Time to Go Travel and Timepieces YouTube channel, and Brent Rubyard from the Calibrated Wrist. No guests today. This is a hostful, and it's our annual Toronto Timepiece Show recap show. That's right. The three of us spent the weekend in Toronto basking in the glow of thousands of watches glowing in the dark. Just kidding. In all seriousness, it was a glorious weekend, and it concluded the inaugural Timepiece World Awards, of which Isotope took 2 home. But we'll get to that later. Let's kick things off with a wrist check. What's on your wrist, gentlemen? Bob, you go first.
I guess we're going to get to it right now because I had to wear the Isotope Mercury, the award-winning now Isotope Mercury. This watch was actually in the deliberation room with the jury, this actual watch. So it's made it even more special, a watch that's already very special to me. So congratulations to you and Jose on the big win with the awards.
Very, very cool.
Brent?
Well, I'm just going to say, to comment on that watch, you're probably never going to wipe the fingerprints off that thing now. I mean, it's got so many glorious hands.
I know, no kidding.
I actually have on also somebody who was at the show, Handhart. Like Mark was saying earlier before we started the show, you and I, Bob, have been on a bit of a Handhart kick of late. This is the 415 ES Iconic, and I actually wore it today because I wanted to do some photography this morning that involved these new gloves that I got. So I don't know.
Oh, look at that!
Is an NGA, but these are my new glove alert here. It's by Inchbury, and that's actually a brand that Ryan Moran from Walking King is launching. Inchbury being, I guess, a street in Hamilton. He's doing a whole apparel thing. But honestly, I'm not even a person who wears gloves, but I saw them right away and I was like, oh man, I have to own those gloves. So they're amazing. They're like really like real lambskin, but they're so nice and stretchy and
racing gloves.
Yeah, racing gloves. I thought they went perfect with the ES Iconic, and I put that little Strapsco rally strap on there. Yeah, all I needed was a really fancy car, which I don't own. So anyway, next.
Yeah. Although you might be a little tall for an MG or something.
That's true.
I've got, just like Bob, I'm wearing the award-winning Isotope Moonshot chronograph. This one was also the one that was being deliberated on. And yeah, it's my favorite Isotope. Not gonna lie, I love it. And so it's very special to me too. It was amazing wearing it on Sunday, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on.
Yeah, that's a beautiful watch. That's also my favorite for myself.
Mark also, by the way, he transfers us $20 per Isotope in this episode. So
yeah, Brent, you took some great shots of it over the weekend too. So thank you very much for that.
Hey, you guys are very welcome.
So I figured let's do the usual format we did last year for the Toronto Timepiece Show. So we'll go through the same questions. So now we'll have a format for it. I guess we didn't do that for Vancouver because we had Jason on at the same time. But moving forward, let's try to stick this same format, and it'll be our recap episodes. So any favorite moments at the Toronto Timepiece Show, excluding the awards, unless you have something you want to mention? But we'll be talking about the awards later. Brent, you want to go first?
I do know we're going to dig into the awards later, but I had to bring them up even now because for me, that gala, like the actual gala itself, was right up there. It felt a little bit like a mini Academy Awards.
Yes, it did.
Colin Mockery was an excellent host. Brands were genuinely enthused and even emotional, which was a bit of a surprise during their acceptance speeches. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that there was a degree of pomp and circumstance around the awards, and also the level of expertise that we had in those in those jury members. So they brought to bear a lot of knowledge, and so people knew that even though this was the inaugural awards, it was not a provincial event by any stretch. I mean, these were really, it was a really strong jury, and they made really strong choices. But of course, like all shows, it's ultimately about the people for me. I think we say this every single time. But the discussions that you have, I joked with Bob and others, like that first night, that Friday night, I don't think that Bob and I made it out of the lobby. Like we just, and that's not a joke. We really got just past that area where the bar was. And there were brands there, obviously, but you just know so many people after so many years of being in the industry and you don't see them all the time. So it's events like that where you get to network, just chat, laugh, joke, etc. So during the last 15 minutes, and just so the listeners know, this is like a 4-hour event, that media event. And so in the last 15 minutes, I ran up the stairs, said hi, 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 and then, went back down the other side. But it wasn't really until the next day that I finally got around to most of what was there. It was fantastic. And, it's a bit like a family gathering where you actually get to choose your family, which is the best part.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. What about you, Bob?
So there are a couple of things on the first night, same exact experience as you. And I can't even remember if I actually made it upstairs on the first night, but I had kind of two worlds collide that night. I had my nephew, Matt Black, that you guys, Isotopes worked with. He's a writer, but more on a corporate level, but he's trying to get into the watch world. He's a watch guy, photography, all that. So I brought him to the event. And it was just kind of cool for him and for me to sort of bring him into the community. He is a complete addict now. He's like, can't wait for the next one. And I know he's already working on some stuff for the calibrated wrist. So that was just kind of a neat thing.
And for Isotope.
And for Isotope, yeah. So that was
he's a brilliant creative writer.
Very good writer, really good photographer too. So that was neat. The other thing, I just kind of last minute, I got some friends some passes for the Friday, and they showed up and handed me a bottle of tequila.
That's dangerous.
Those are real friends.
They handed it to me in front of the Far and Swit table, and and a couple of the surrounding brands. All of a sudden there was plastic cups put in front of them. So that was kind of the kickoff of the weekend. And Andrew and his dad from Far and Swit, they were awesome. They put a little reel together on the whole moment. So anyways, yeah, that was kind of a fun way to kick things off.
Yeah, you know what? That explains things now, because there's a video out there where he comments on something about tequila. And it flew over my head. Now I know why. That's great.
What about you, Mark?
Yeah, I had a couple of really great moments. One of them was when I arrived there. Now, Chris Ansoulis, who writes for Popping Crowns and Watch Gecko, he and I are very good friends. I probably consider him one of my best friends in the watch space. We have a shared history of writing for Warner Mount, and we had like a lot of the same watches and so forth. And I was really looking forward to meeting him in person at the Toronto Timepiece Show. And when my Uber pulled up to the hotel at that light, he was crossing in front of the car. So I rolled down the window. I said, "Chris," and he saw me and he came running from the crosswalk to the car to give me a hug. I thought that was an awesome moment. He's such a great guy. We say that a lot. I think we mentioned this the other day. Every time we talk about that brand, we're like, "Oh, that guy's such a great guy." Oh, Jack Mason. Oh, Peter's such a great guy. Like, we always say that, but they truly are our found family, right? So yeah, meeting him in person was incredible. Arriving at the venue for the first time, like, I saw pictures online of the venue outside. Inside, not so much. Although we did get the tour. Bob, you did a tour the day before, video tour on your channel. That was really cool.
Yeah.
But seeing it in person, with the way the ceilings are super high, the natural light coming in, the shape of the place was very weird and different, but the flow was amazing. Even the narrower corridors where Zin was and Nomos and all that, you'd think, oh, it's going to bottleneck. No, it still worked. It still works. It was. I was really impressed with the venue. And then my absolute favorite moment on Sunday, the day after the awards, I was finally able to get the moonshot, my moonshot, out of the cabinet, put it on the bracelet, and I got to wear it. And then when I did get time to go visit the other brands, is showing up at those booths and then noticing the moonshot and saying, "Oh, we love that watch. Can we see it?" And then, seeing other creators and brand, makers of watches appreciate the design, appreciate how different it is, and seeing them light up to the watch that I was wearing, that was amazing. The guys from Atelier Wen really loved it, and I was talking about their tantalum stuff, and they were talking about the moonshot and like back and forth, and it was so cool. So yeah, that probably is my favorite moment of the weekend. I had nothing to do with the design or making of it. It's just as a brand representative and being proud of, the watch and the award. It was amazing. Yeah, that was so cool.
Really.
So, guys, do you have any top picks of watches that stood out to you while you were there that you got to fondle?
I do. I actually just, first of all, I had the same experience because I had the Mercury on the Sunday.
Yeah.
And I've never taken a watch off and put it on more in my life. I don't think everybody wanted to check it out. So that was pretty cool experience. But I actually kind of like all of us, I'm more of a tool watch guy, but I was surprised by a lot of what people are doing with dress watches there. There was a really cool, and I don't know if it's out yet, so I won't give too much detail, but there was a Sultan with the MOP and the guilloche. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They had that last year, I think, with the twirly turbine-y kind of dial with the guilloche and the...
Yeah, that was really impressive in person. I was checking their site this morning and I don't see it there, so I don't know if that's something coming soon. But the other one, and this is a watch Brett and I got to see earlier in the summer, but the lighting was terrible. We had there was a small Atelier when get together at a reggae bar. And it was quite the combination. Like we had,
because when I think of Atelier Wen, I think of reggae.
I know.
Even better was a reggae bar, but Asian fusion food. Like it was.
That's perfect.
and then a bunch of watch nerds over in the corner. It was quite the combination. But that
some jerk chicken sushi.
It was a cool place. It was a fun event, but the lighting was terrible. One of the watches they were showing us there was the Ancestra, I think it's called, their latest, the blue dial.
Yeah.
It was hard to get a real appreciation for that watch in that lighting situation. So looking at that in the nice lighting that was happening at the venue, that one really stood out to me. And if you're not familiar with that watch, definitely check it out. Go online, and specifically the movement, the way they have that. There's an ancient
Gorgeous
Chinese poem engraved on the movement, and I think it's like 1,000 words or something. Like, it's tiny, but there's some.
It is really tiny, surprisingly, because we see them on Instagram blown up, right? And it looks like deep engraving, and it looks really. It is spectacular in person, though. It's much smaller looking, the engraving, but still, unbelievably incredible.
Yeah, beautiful watch. And then the third, also dress watch, was the golden hour that Brent did a write-up on it just before the show from Awake. Just the process, they were explaining the process to me. It comes from the lacquer comes from the sap of a tree only grown in I think in northern Vietnam or something like that. And there's layers of silver leaf, and it's just, that dial was incredible. So yeah, those are three standouts for me from the show.
And how nice are those Awake dudes?
Oh, they're great guys. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's funny to hear you start off with dress watches, because I think all three of us are kind of the consummate tool watch guys. But I too found that that was really where my interest was flying to over the weekend. But you'd actually be shocked to learn that I only tried on a handful of watches over the 3 days. I mean, I was doing a lot of photography, a lot of talking, a lot of meetings and things like that. And so some of those pieces were unfortunately under embargo, so I can't even say much about them. But I will say that Serica continues to do really great things, and we're going to see some really cool releases from them between now and Christmas. And then, like Bob said, those guys from Awake, they just released that golden hour before the show, the Sun My golden hour, and I had it in the studio over the summer. But then I got to see hands-on the rest of that series, because there's sort of a series of 5 watches they call their vignette series. And so it's all similar process with the lacquer, all absolutely stunning. Even the bands they choose to go with them are really thoughtfully chosen. The lacquer dials are just so impressive. Like, no matter what you do with photography, you've got to see the depth of them, I think, in person to really understand. Bradley Taylor's latest watch, I mean, that guy is making some high-end stuff. I'm not even sure I'm allowed to mention its name or the complication, so I won't. But, he's a guy to watch, pun intended. And then Caroline and I had a 45-minute meeting with Torsti Lane. He wasn't part of the official show, but his watch, the P37, was up in one of the categories for an award. And so he decided to come all the way from Switzerland, and he had a suite at the Novotel, and he was taking appointments. So we had this first appointment on Friday morning, and man, what a great 45 minutes. His work is next level. You can see some photos and read about it. We published an article about the experience this week. And then, of course, it was just great to hear, to see Doxa and Zin, who are out.
Yeah.
I'm like we say, we're primarily Tool Watch guys, and they fit right in with so many of the other great Tool Watch producers that have already been part of the show. Elliot Brown, Marathon, Redwood this time, and Hanhart. So I just like that's just really, for me, it was a great alley to head down, because like you say, Bob, there was, or maybe it was you, Mark, sorry, there's a tiny little bottleneck there, but like they were really, really busy. People love those watches. So
yeah, absolutely.
Some great stuff there.
Yeah, my friend James Fournier and his dad came to the Timepiece Show, and we happened to travel on the same train together. And they went to see Lane, and he was ranting and raving about what he saw there. I think that was probably his highlight, or one of the highlights for him of that show. I'm, with having to go to the show and set up the booths and so forth, I didn't get a chance to go see them.
I didn't get a chance to either, but I ran into James and his dad one of the mornings and had a coffee, and he was showing me some pictures on his phone.
Yeah.
They look incredible.
His dad bought a Doxa.
I was just going to say, his dad bought a Doxa, walked straight in there, right to the back on Friday, and bought it just like that.
Apparently he's been wanting one for 20 years. So good for him.
Yeah, it was awesome. And they treated him so well at the show too.
Everybody was treated really well, though, but it was really nice of them to go out of their way and get him that watch.
For sure.
For me, some standouts. There's a Dr. Pepper watch from Jack Mason, the 2024 version with the silver dial and the burgundy and red bezel, that I've been lusting for 2 years now. And I feel horrible because every time I see him at these shows, I go and gush over his watches and I don't buy one. I'm going to have to fix that somehow, somewhere down the line. I'm going to say it again. He's such a great guy. I hung out with him for a little while, and James Cornish, who was featured in your magazine, Brent.
Yep.
I saw them for the first time, and he fell in love with the, I guess the Batman version, the black and blue bezel. And he was very close to pulling the trigger as well, because he's always wanted, he liked the colorway, and, the watch is a phenomenal watch for the price. I think
something about the crystal on that watch.
Yeah, and the shape, the cushiony shape.
Yeah.
It's not quite cushion. It's like a cushiony. I think it's a really nice watch.
One other watch actually just dawned on me that was such a, at first glance, didn't seem overly special. Did you guys stop by Wise Watches at all?
Yes.
Yeah,
I saw them in California.
So they had they have a chronograph. I think it's coming soon, but the crystal is curved. So the crystal is actually about the same height as the bezel, and then the sapphire is domed above that. So it's just got a unique look to it, the way the crystal is so raised up like that. That was a really cool watch. Yeah, really nice watch.
And their bracelets, I don't know if you got a chance to play around with their clasp from that brand, Wise. The clasp is exactly like the T-Fit from Tudor.
Very nice.
They're really, really, really nice. Another watch that stood out for me was the Zin U18. I stood in line to get my hands on that. And when I finally had it in hand, now I've owned a U1, a U2, a UX, and a handful of other Zins. What was really cool is that it was brushed submarine steel instead of that bead blasted matte. So it gave it a different sheen. And those bubbles that are on the dial, that again, we see these pictures on Instagram or on our computers, they're blown up, 3, 4, 5 times the size. So they look kind of garish or a little too much. In person, it's not the case. They're much more subtle. It's a beautiful watch. It is massive at 44 millimeters, and it weighs, it's got to be close to 250 grams, or if not more, with that new clasp. Unfortunately, they didn't have a U15, which I think is the smaller version of it. It's a 41 millimeter. And unfortunately, it loses 1,500 meters of water resistance. So it's only water resistant to 500 meters. So, that's not very good. On our podcast with Felix from Hanhart, I was wanting to see the Aquasphere, so I beelined straight to his counter, went straight to look at those watches, and I was quite impressed. I mean, I really, really like them. The feeling is amazing. The bezel action is fantastic. I really like the design, and talking to Felix is a joy, and his team. They're just such happy-go-lucky dudes, and he's such a great guy. I have to say it. And then I guess the Lumiere from Christopher Ward always impresses me. I got a chance to take a picture with it next to my Pelagos. Kind of makes the Pelagos look boring a little bit. which it is. I mean, and there's no, it's a very standard watch. I mean, it's a fantastic standard watch, but the Lumiere does have that little extra oomph to it for maybe half the price. I think that's pretty good. The Atelier Wen stuff, you mentioned it before, but it wasn't necessarily the one you talked about. I like their tantalum stuff just because it's so wildly different. And they had these 3 cubes on their desks. There was a cube of titanium, a cube of stainless steel, and a cube of tantalum. And you got to pick them up. And the difference between the stainless steel and the titanium is there, but the tantalum is just, so if you hold the tantalum in one hand and the titanium in the other, and they're both the same shape and almost the same color, you're like, this doesn't compute. Like, your brain can't handle what's happening in your hands. It's so odd.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. Those are my standout ones. Seeing Canuck Timepieces, his new Wild Watch was really cool to see.
Yeah.
And that dude was so enthusiastic. It was so much fun to have around.
James, he's awesome. Good, really good guy. Yeah.
He's a great guy. Like, here we go again. So those are great. So what about the feeling? Last year when we left the Toronto Timepiece Show, we felt rejuvenated, right? It was the first one in Canada. We felt like $1 million. We couldn't wait for the next one. How do you guys feel now this year compared to last year?
I was on such a high all weekend and all through the drive home on Monday. I spent 8 hours writing on Tuesday, and I did the same on Wednesday. These shows are like, there's such a validation for all of us, really, and the reception of the second print issue of the Calibrated Wrist was also just awesome. We had all kinds of brand reps approaching us and saying, hey, how can we be a part of the next issue? So that was wonderful. I think it was great for Caroline too, because she's starting to feel a lot more a part of that community, and people are beginning to recognize who she is and what she does.
It validates her hard work.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, there were contributors to the magazine who were present. You already mentioned James Cornish, Cinziana Yordaka was there as well. And it's just so great to see them so happy with the way that we have curated the work that they've done, because the work that they do is amazing. They're both incredible artists. So obviously one in photography and the other in graphite, but equally good in their fields. And frankly, we're already planning the 3rd issue. It's crazy how quick the turnover goes. We may have even recruited a few good writers, including Matt Black, while we were there at the show. So that'll be great for us next year.
That's awesome. You mentioned James Cornish there. Just a funny story that I wasn't planning on telling. It just came to mind. When we left the show on Friday night after the creators event. So we left, James followed us, came with us to the hotel. He had parked his car at the parking lot across the street. And James and Jose got to talking about Porsches, because Jose is a fan, and obviously James photographs Porsches for famous people and stuff. And they were talking about that number 8 Porsche that James photographs, and that's in your magazine. And Jose was talking about a guy who custom makes Porsches that he's interested in. Turns out it's the same dude. And James knows him very well, and so they hit it off. Like, it was like 2 little kids talking about their favorite toys. It was amazing. It was amazing. And then next thing you know, we're standing in the middle of the street at like 11 o'clock at night, and in the dark, just standing there talking about Porsches and watches and stuff. It was a great moment.
Yeah, for sure.
So Bob, any moments?
For me, there's so many highs, like during the weekend. It's crazy. Like I think the biggest one for me was, so people that can't see, we have a little screen with the video of each other, and you can put a title in the bottom. I've put my title is travel journalist for the Calibrated Wrist. But the biggest high, and Brent's planning on sending me around the world this year for the next issue. But the biggest high for me was seeing that article. We done a trip to Curacao earlier in the year and put together an article with my own photos. To see that in print was the coolest thing like ever.
Those drone shots that you took came out so well in print, especially that one of the bridge going across the water. It just looked wonderful, really good.
Did you rent a drone when you were there, or did you bring your own?
I brought one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got one right in the drawer right behind me right now.
Very cool.
But that was a huge high for me. This week, so afterwards, of course, you still have that energy, but I had a busy work week this week. And so it's the kind of combination of the high and the fatigue. So it's been like almost a delirium for me the last few days. Also, Matt, this is the Matt Black episode this weekend, but he'll be pumped to hear this on Monday. But he's been keeping the high going for me because he's, doing this for the first time and experiencing it for the first time. We're talking every single day, and he's working on a couple of things now, and he's helping me keep the high going. But yeah.
There's nothing like living vicariously through somebody else's experience like that.
100%.
I was in education for 27 years, and we used to do these trips, international trips with kids, whether it was Nicaragua or Greece or wherever, it didn't matter. But, we would have these kids from small town Ontario standing in front of something for the first time, and they just thought, like, I remember one in particular who eventually went on to become a principal himself in education, but we're standing in the Doge's palace, and it was like floor to ceiling paintings by Tintoretto. And he said, I just have no words, And when you travel a lot, like all of us do, you enjoy travel, but you forget that moment of discovery sometimes. And so it's cool that you're experiencing that with Matt here.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's been great.
Yeah, I had the same rejuvenation as last year, maybe even more so because I'm officially part of the Isotope team now, and getting to show off those watches to people that come to the show specifically to see Isotope because they only seen them online, or better yet, when people come up to the booth and never heard of Isotope, and you tell them all about it, and then you shine the black light on all of those cool watches that glow, or you spin the dial on the Ovni, and the dial jumps for the hour, and you get the oohs and the ahs. There's nothing like it. I was quite exhausted by the time it was over. And I don't know if I told Bob this morning, on Monday, when I left the venue, went to the train station, I popped by Starbucks, got my breakfast and some coffee, and I sat down waiting for the train. And then I was going through emails, and CPKC had another derailment in Northern Ontario. So, and I work in logistics, and I had 16 containers on that train. So my real world came crashing down on top of my imaginary world of watches. So it was a rude awakening, unfortunately, and it was a bit of a mess when I got back. It wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be, but when these things happen, they don't give you all the information right away, right? A train can be up to 5 miles long, could have about 5,000 containers. You've got 16 of them on there, so it's not a priority, right? And then they want to make sure everyone's safe first, and there's no spillages and all that stuff. So, it takes time for the information to get out to us, but the stress is there. And, some of those containers were destined for stores out west, and now they're going to be late. So this is, anyways, that's a long story, but yeah, I felt rejuvenated again. I can't wait for the next one. I think that of all the shows I've done this year so far, including Los Angeles and Vancouver, and this is by far the best one. The most joy and enthusiasm through the people coming in, and the fun and the camaraderie. And again, like you said before, Brent, the friends that we make in this business that we only see at these shows. It's amazing. It was incredible that it was in our backyard again. I love it. I can't wait for it to be in Montreal. That's going to be absolutely wild.
Mm-hmm.
So Watch Fam, talking about Watch Fam, any cool stories with our friends in the space?
I have one, and this is with another member of the Time to Calibrate, or the Calibrated Wrist rather, team, Tyler, on Sunday. I ran into him. He's coming down the stairs, and he's like, "You're never gonna believe what happened." He was having a discussion with Sunrex watches. They have a watch inspired by Ayrton Senna, and he's an enormous fan. And
yes.
Tyler wears his heart on his sleeve, and you could tell that he was quite emotional. But the Sunrex guys decided to just gift him this watch.
Oh wow!
And he was beside himself over that. He actually made a reel talking a little bit about it. I think
he was emotional even then.
Yeah.
So that
you made me emotional, little bugger.
Yeah, I know, me too. Tyler and I have a lot of big laughs at these things. We always have. I think we have an odd sense of humor. But one little funny story, just if Tyler's listening, he'll get a kick out of this. We were out for dinner, and Brett was there. I was sitting beside RJ. There was last night there was about 12 of us at a 6-person table.
Wow.
But Tyler's sitting beside me. He orders Heineken, I think. The waiter's handing out all of the drinks, and they put Tyler's down, and it was about half beer and half head. I mean, we just made eye contact and had like about the hugest belly laugh ever. It ended up being that it poured from a bottle and the rest of the beer did come for him. But we just got a huge laugh out of that. Just, it's one of those maybe you had to be there moments, but yeah. Anyways, what about you, Brent?
Well, I mean, despite the amazing show, it kind of had an inauspicious beginning for us on the Thursday. I think you guys are aware we had a really close call to not even having magazines. Like there was this kind of miscommunication with the printer, and like the printer is huge. They're printed in Canada, but they have offices in Tokyo and Chicago and London, and so sometimes the IT branch is in the UK and your representative is in Chicago and your printer is actually in North York, and so there was this kind of circular problem we had for about 5 days because it happened over a weekend that happened to be Labor Day weekend that like bled into one of our people that we deal with being sick. And so we almost didn't have a magazine because they had made a mistake with how it was supposed to be printed. And they kept telling us, the color profile is wrong. The color profile is wrong. And we said, no, it's not. Trust me. And so it ended up, we were right and they were incorrect, but there was a mad rush to get this magazine. So we had to go up on the Thursday by car to pick that magazine up. Well, I brought my truck, but the magazine quadrupled in size this time in terms of like the number that we printed. And also it doubled in size, the actual magazine itself and page count. So I didn't really take into account how that would look. We filled the truck bed, the entire truck bed, 2 boxes high. And so I was like, oh my God, like is it even going to fit? So I was stressed and everything. And it's a 4-hour drive for us to begin with. And then we had to pick up Dan, the Danson. And so the original plan was that we were going to go from North York all the way down to Union Station because he was going to take the train from the airport to Union. And if you're listening and you don't understand Toronto, North York is just about as far as you can get from downtown and still be Toronto kind of, and so the traffic was murder. Like we were in this horrific traffic. So we had to change plans. And I said, you know what? We'll text him. We're going to head straight to the airport instead. It was no better. It took us an hour to get to the airport. And then after we picked him up, well, actually, as we were trying to pick him up, security was like really upset with me because he hadn't come out yet with his bags. And they were saying, you only have 2 minutes. You only have 2 minutes. Well, I was there like 7, 8, 9 minutes. I don't know. So they were coming and they're banging on the window and I was pretending to be on my phone and couldn't get to them, and I was just doing anything not to have to move away from the curb because after you do that, it's another 20 minutes to come back around, So finally he came. I thought it was going to be ticketed. They were really upset. He came. Then it took us another hour to get back downtown. I tell you, 6 hours of driving that day. We still had all the magazines in the back of the truck. We had all Dan's stuff in there as well. And then we had my son, Mateus, who also works with us. So by the time we finally got to the Red Bar event, it was great that it happened to be fantastic because we were like, oh my God, I'm hungry. I'm exhausted. I've been driving all day. The traffic's crazy. And then we had this really, really amazing time. The Red Bar event was amazing. It was way down on St. Clair. It was Huey and from RZE and Kirk Lepitten. They were there along with this amazing brand from Detroit. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It's called Artifact. It's spelled ARTEFKT. Guys, listeners, check them out.
Artifact?
Yeah.
FAKE?
Yeah, no, FAKE.
Artifact.
Oh, FAT. Okay.
It's amazing. I haven't seen a watch quite like it. Very thin, uber tough, really cool watches. I'd like to see more of his stuff for sure. Thomas from Tesse Watches was the organizer. Space One was there, and of course my man Gio, whom we all love, was there from Geo Shop. He's the life of any party. And so it went from like this day of like, oh my God, to here we are. Here's my people. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, Toronto, when you're an hour away from being an hour away.
Yeah, 100%.
So
yeah, the train from the Uber that I took from the train station to North York was about an hour. And it's 15 kilometers.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So yeah, I had a terrific time meeting some fans of the podcast, especially Steve. Bob and I talked about him. Steve goes by ST Jets on socials.
Yeah, I met him too.
He came from Pennsylvania.
Easy to spot in the crowd.
Yeah,
he's about a foot taller than everybody.
I know, and we're not short, Bob. Like,
yeah, he brought his Pelagos Ultra so that I can take a look at it compared to mine, which is really nice of him to do. So it was great meeting him and some other fans. He also had a Louis Erard I don't know if you got to see it
I
on
saw
Sunday.
it.
It was blue with
The white subdials.
the white subdials. It was a regulator timepiece.
Nice.
He jokes. He says anytime someone asks for time, he says, "Go ahead, read it." For those that don't know what a regulator is, it's when the hour, minutes, and seconds are separated from the separate pinion and have their own subdials, each one. So it's kind of funky to read if you're not accustomed to it. Also, I mentioned Chris earlier, Chris Ansoulis. On Friday after the creators event, we had dinner with him and Vincent Deschamps at the Keg with Jose, and we had a great time. Vincent unfortunately had arrived from France that day, so I think it was like 5 o'clock in the morning for him when we were sitting there eating supper. So he didn't stay for very long. But Chris and I and Jose stayed there till, I don't know, 1 o'clock or something. We're late, and it was very late. And we talked about politics a little bit, but we were all on the same side of that page, so it was fun to complain about that. Also getting to meet Anna, Chrono Girl Life, who came from Poland, was really cool. I'd only interacted with her online before. She's super nice, very knowledgeable and enthusiastic, and she had a wonderful time. And reconnecting with Lucy from Poland. When we were in Los Angeles, I got to hang out with her quite a bit, and we had breakfast together and stuff. And she's such a great person also. So it was great to hang out with her. Although during the show, I was so busy at the counter at the booth at Isotope, I didn't get to see many people out on the floor. But eventually I did make it out. So those are the people that really stood out for me. Of course, there's others that I forgot. Standout people. Who stands out for you guys that you saw over the weekend? Brent, you start for that one.
Well, I mean, I hate to make lists like this because I always feel like I'm going to forget.
Yeah, we're going to forget people, so we'll apologize right off the bat.
Yeah. So let me just say, let's like all the regulars, like you mentioned, Vincent already. We've talked about Huey, etc. Like let's just I'm going to set aside the regulars for a second. I'm going to talk about the people that I met for the first time this time. And the new connections that we made, because this show, of course, it was double the size. It had 3 times the amount of traffic. So there were a lot of new faces to me, in spite of being so many old hats, right? So shout outs, obviously, to Torsti Lane. His stuff is just amazing. The guys behind Awake, Lillian Thibault and Thibault Sacré, two of the nicest, most grounded individuals that I met over the weekend. Humble, unbelievable. Charles Tremblay, he's one half of Charles Simon, or Charles Simon, out of Montreal. And if you don't know them, they make those incredibly high-end watch accessories that kind of have a mid-century look to them, but are made with like carbon fiber and aerospace aluminum and things like that. Amazing stuff. Amazing guy. The journalist Elizabeth Dorr. Oh my God. She came out with us after the awards ceremony. She is fiercely intelligent and possibly the most knowledgeable journalist in this sphere that I have ever encountered. Funny as well, witty. I had met Bradley Taylor in Vancouver before, but literally just outside the door, a 5-minute chat. And this time we got a lot of time together, either during our talk that one day or, afterwards over drinks and things like that. He's a great guy. And obviously, we had an amazing lunch with Felix, whom I know really, really well. But I did get a chance to meet Michael for the first time, also from Hanhart Watches.
Yeah.
He's their I guess, master watchmaker, but like funny. The guy is like pure enthusiasm. He is the German equivalent of Tyler Frederick. They have the same kind of just joy for life. It's awesome. And so that was really good. Just an affirmation that everybody that works for Hanhart is an amazing guy. But anyway, those would be the sort of like the new ones. Also, of course, like Mark, you just mentioned Anna being there. That was wonderful to meet her for the first time. And James, whom we've already mentioned, from Canuck Timepieces. Those were people that it was so fresh to see amongst all the other really great people that we've known for so long, to see like this influx of new energy too at the show. It was very cool. What about you, Bob?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Anna and Lucy in a minute, but they were definitely standouts. But one of the do you guys know Serge, one man reviews?
Oh yeah.
So Serge and I were going for lunch, and I ran into Huey and Kirk that were also going for lunch. I'd never met Kirk before. So Serge and I our sort of focus is on YouTube. So we're sitting down, we're having lunch. There was some other guys that are more in the EDC community in the group too. Serge is talking about YouTube and analytics and all of this stuff, and he didn't at the moment realize like Kirk's background, who he's got some
Peter
experience.
McKinnon,
Yeah, he's got some experience in that department. It was just kind of funny because he's having a conversation with Kirk about it, and Serge has a sort of channel maybe around the size of mine, nothing like Peter McKinnon. But Kirk was so into the conversation. It was really interesting listening to him. And then once Serge realized, kind of who Kirk has worked with in the past, then he's like, oh, my word. He felt like a kind of it was a funny moment. And it was, we were talking a little bit on the, with Huey and Kirk and what they're working on with RZE, and their approach to marketing is so different than everybody else. There's some cool stuff coming from them, but that was a real standout moment for me. I was a huge fan of Peter and Kirk before, so that was kind of a little mini starstruck thing for me, which was kind of neat. But yeah.
I think it's so cool that Kirk is striking out on his own now, because he for the longest time he lived kind of in that shadow. He was really one of the creative forces behind Peter McKinnon. And it wasn't until the later years he would pop up in a video and that sort of thing, or he'd plant his name on a street sign or something like that, just something cool and funky. But the stuff he creates, especially for RZE, but even anything on his channel, is just fantastic. What he does with sound and sort of like that cinematic look to everything he does. Super, super talented guy.
Yeah, I won't say any details on it all, but he's going to be working with a watch YouTube personality soon. So keep an eye out for that. That's something I can't really discuss in detail here, but yeah, he was fantastic.
Right on.
Yeah, for me, I got to meet James from Canuck Timepieces. You mentioned him before, but he kept on coming back to our booth, and then he got to show his watch to Jose, and Jose is a wild creative guy too, so they got to talk, and his enthusiasm and joy is infectious, and it was great being around him. Meeting the two RJs, Kama and Broer. One of those two is probably the most handsome dude I've ever met. And they're really nice to see in person. I've been talking to RJ Kama for years. I mean, he had a dark red Grand Seiko GMT, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And I admired that watch for like the longest time. And then when I got my Grand Seiko, one of the first people I told was him. I sent him a message, I finally got my Grand Seiko, and he was so happy for me. So meeting RJ Broer in person for the first time was pretty cool too. I talked to him many, many times before, but not in person. Seeing Rhonda Rich again in person, that she's such a lovely person. Seeing Dan be the most Dan I've ever seen him. I think the dude was just on fire all weekend. Girl meets watch, right? Coming in from Tennessee. She was having a great time. We connected at the Maurice Lacroix booth for some reason. She was standing there. I happened to walk by and I told her, did you see the new ceramic Maurice Lacroix? They have one that's ceramic bracelet and case that's got a blacked out type dial, and it's very un-Maurice Lacroix. It is so slick, and if you've never held ceramic before, you almost have the impression that it's going to be plasticky or light. It isn't. It's substantive, and it felt very solid and like really, really well made. So we talked about those, and there's so many others. Like we're going to forget most of the people that we saw, but it was great. Yeah, it was quite the turnout. It was so much fun seeing these people that you only see online. So now let's talk about their awards. What do you guys think? How were they for you? Were you guys nervous going up on stage together?
I gotta just back it up a little notch because you were talking about the two RJs. I don't know if you remember this, Brett, but we did a little rehearsal walkthrough thing, and we're short a person, or we're missing like one of the presenters. And I'm like, first of all, I'm in a crowd of people. I'm like, why am I even with these people right now? It's like people I've looked up to for years, But I'm like, we're missing RJ. And as I say that, I'm like looking at RJ Brower and my brain doesn't connect the dots. We're actually missing RJ comma. So everybody's looking at me like RJ's like right there. And I'm like, no, he's not. He's just outside in the hallway. They're like, he's right in front of you. And so everybody thinks I'm an idiot now. But
How
anyway.
many times are you in a room with two RJs, right?
I know. They must have been like, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he in here with us?
After the awards show, we were walking back to the hotel and both RJs were talking to each other, and we walked into the lobby of the hotel and I said, two RJs walk into the room. Everybody cracked up.
So I you have here in the notes about ask whether we were nervous presenting or not. I spoke with Anna, Chrono Girl Life, the sort of the day leading up. Both of us were very nervous, never had done anything like that before. And we sort of joked about like who's going to be like tripping up the stairs or tripping over words. There's going to be all kinds of tripping going on. But during the actual show, she went up. Brent will remember this because he was sitting beside us. She goes up on the stage, comes back down. I didn't notice anything. She presented the award.
She did a great job.
Yeah, she did a great job, but she sits down and she gets a text and she shows me her phone, and it's Lucy, Watchbox Diaries, texts her, was the sunglasses part of the wardrobe, and she had a great big pair of sunglasses on top of her head.
She forgot to take them off her head.
Yeah, so we had a loud, maybe a bit too loud of a chuckle. I think we might have got shushed a little bit there too, but that was a really funny moment.
I didn't even notice.
It was so funny. If you check, she just posted some pictures of it. You'll see like throughout the entire thing, the gala, the whole thing, she's got sunglasses on her head. So funny. But once that happened, because I was sort of nervous the entire time. Once that happened, then it was just such a funny thing. The nerves like went totally away, and we went and did our thing, and it was fun. That was a really cool experience to be a part of that. And the show is overall, you mentioned Colin already. Colin Mockery nailed it with the watch jokes. Like he killed it with the watch jokes. I wasn't sure how that would go or how he'd incorporate things, but man, oh man, we were he had us all in stitches for sure. So I was really happy with how the award show went.
You know, it's funny you talk about being shushed at that moment when we saw the photo. There was another time where I felt like I caught a joke, I think just a second before everybody else did. And I laughed, and my laugh is, pretty loud. And I thought, oh my God, that was loud. But then, a few other people started laughing, but it was that emit joke that Colin Mockery told.
Yeah.
Like one that kind of misfired a little bit. And so only half the room eventually got it, but I caught it like almost right away. And then I thought, oh my God, nobody else laughed, but it was so loud in the moment. Like,
I'm sure Colin appreciated it.
Yeah.
Brent and I have been to a couple of things because I have a really loud laugh too. We've been shushed at a number of events.
True.
Yeah. We did at the RJ's whiskey thing out in Niagara.
Oh my God.
We were almost kicked out of the building at one point.
Yes. I remember them tapping on glasses and saying, "Can I get your attention, please?"
Oh, it was all us. Yeah.
Well, I was sitting obviously between you and Cinziana in the crowd. You and I were going to head up together. And she was quite nervous. And I was like you, I was teasing her about tripping up the stairs. And then she thought, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm going to do. That's exactly what's going to happen to me, But I'm not nervous at all at things like that. Like I was 27 years in education. I'm used to speaking in front of crowds. I had a talk earlier that day in front of a crowd. It was nothing for me. But like I say, the only moment was when I was embarrassed or nervous was when I laughed too loud in the crowd. But otherwise, I was just in awe, like of just how grand the whole thing was. A champagne reception, a string quartet.
Yeah, the quartet was quite the touch.
Yeah, a brilliant MC, everybody dressed up in their finery and everything. And if you had told me 2 years ago that this is what the Canadian watch scene would look like today, I would not have believed you. So kudos to Jason, because boy, did he pull this one out of a hat. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that's incredible. Now, for me, it was a little different. Obviously, I didn't go up with you guys to present because I didn't want to. But seeing the first award be presented and awarded to Jose for the Mercury Shadow, Bob's Mercury Shadow, was incredible. He was sitting right next to me, and he just couldn't believe that it was Isotope. He didn't get up. He was sitting there clapping away like it's not his brand. Like, no, you don't.
That
It's
became a
you.
running joke for the whole evening, actually.
Yeah.
Even to get up on stage.
So then he made it up on stage, and then he gave such a beautiful speech, very humble, and you know, it was just earnest, heartwarming. This pretty much describes the man. I mean, it was amazing to see. I got to videotape that part. And then later on in the evening, when Isotope won the People's Choice for the moonshot, Jose asked me to go up with him. So I did. And so we went up on stage, got the pictures taken with Alexandre Bourgain and all that. And that was incredible. And then I made a joke at the end of the speech saying it was amazing to start off the awards and finish them by, winning. And then they announced another winner after us for Christopher Ward. And I was like, damn, that joke was good. You killed
it. Bob and I were in the audience, and we were like fist pumping. We're like, yes. When of course, each time that Isotope won, but we were also really, really happy for you when you went up to accept that with him at the end. And you actually sort of stepped forward and said something into the mic, because we know how you feel about crowds. So that was awesome.
It's not necessarily the crowds. It's just I'm not in front of the camera kind of person. Like even this doing podcasts at the beginning when we started, I was always very nervous. I'm not anymore. I've gotten quite used to it. And I am used to speaking in front of people. Like for work, I do it all the time, presentations and so forth, customers. I've signed multi-million-dollar deals after doing presentations. Like I can do that stuff. I'm just not comfortable. And it's not me. I mean, but still, it was amazing. What I liked best about the award show is that everybody who won, everyone in the crowd was genuinely happy for them.
Uh-huh.
I was told that at the GPHGs and some other awards that the people that don't win, and a lot of people in the crowds are actually pissed, or they're angry or resentful. And it's a very cold atmosphere. And that couldn't be further from the truth with ours. It was warm. It was inviting, encouraging. And the winners were all very humble, and no one spoke too long, which is great. And that leads me to the last point about the awards. They had slotted 3 hours for that award, the ceremony, and we were all quite tired, right? We were standing on our feet all day long. We barely ate anything all day. The fact that it was only an hour and 15 minutes, just about, was amazing. It was exactly what we needed. Colin Mockery kept things moving. He was very funny. The awards were presented very quickly. The people accepting the awards were all humble and all, happy and proud. And then we all filed out after, and it was still quite early, and we still weren't, burnt out. And then we all took pictures outside with the awards and things, and it was great. I think that's how it should be, a 3-hour ceremony. I was thinking, first of all, how is it going to be 3 hours? Are we going to have dancing on the stage and some musical interludes? There's no way it was going to be 3 hours. I couldn't think. I know that they had allocated 5 minutes per person winning.
Speaker. Yeah.
Yeah. You know how long 5 minutes is to say thank you? I mean, that's a long time. I mean, the Academy Awards, they were cutting them off after 45 seconds. Like 5 minutes. I mean, that's opening the door for Robert De Niro or Jack Nicholson to really go off. So yeah, that was amazing. Any surprise winners for you guys out of the categories?
I'm not going to say that they're surprised, because I don't want to denigrate anybody, but I will say that Marathon had steep competition in their category. And that was what I was going to say too. A toss up for me. Like, it was just so many good watches there. But you know what? I was so happy to see that at least one Canadian brand made it among the winners. And I was speaking with Mitchell afterwards, and his sort of self-effacing humor and his modesty, it only made me happier for them,
that micro mil spec was some tough competition for them.
It was, absolutely. And you know what? Like, the fact that he calls his team his family, and he doesn't just do it like de facto. Like he did it here when he was on our show, talked to, and he literally said in an interview I did with him the next day, he said, you know what? If you don't like the people that you're working with, get yourself another job. And you can tell they are a family. You see them at the party afterwards. But they are. And the other one was Oris, because Oris had a truckload of competition in their category as well. But when the team went up to accept, and I heard that emotion in VJ's voice, and if you know VJ, you were not expecting that.
No, it wasn't.
I thought it was great. It was great. Bob?
Yeah, so I was just flashing my notes to you guys, so I'm not like cheating here, but I had Marathon. It was cool to see a Canadian brand win, and yeah, you're right, there was some tough competition there, but that is a excellent watch. The biggest surprise to me was the tie, and when it actually happened, because they announced you guys for the moonshot, and I was like, okay, that's it. And they sort of surprised it. They had no indication that there was a tie until you guys had left the stage.
Can you imagine the probability there? Yeah, like imagine that. Like this is the People's Choice Award for the listeners. Everybody that was at the show got a chance to vote if they wished to. So you can imagine, all the votes and all the watches that you could vote for, and still it end up as a tie. Incredible.
I think there was like 68 watches or 70, somewhere around there watches. For that to end up happening was a shock to me.
Yeah.
One other brand that's kind of jumped out at me, I'd never even heard of before, and I'm not even sure how, it's that GOS. Is it GOS?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's some spectacular stuff.
Man, their watches are incredible. I just discovered them just before the weekend because of the fact that they're in the awards, and they have some amazing pieces, man, if you check their site. But that was a cool one, too.
Yep.
Yeah, that was really cool. Marathon, I was going to say the same thing. That category was really stacked, and I'm not surprised that they won. I mean, that watch is, I've had a Navigator. I'm probably gonna have another one. And I think you guys both have one, or one of you guys does.
I do. Yeah.
They're phenomenal watches, and but that micromilligraph that they had out there, that thing is just bonkers cool. And anyways, they both could have won that one, but I'm very happy for Mitchell and the team, and like you said, the family that they have over there. And he's become a friend. By the way, Brent, I meant to tell you this earlier, but anyways, Mitch told me that you have to go visit him. He'll open the vaults for you.
Yeah, he did talk to us about it the next day, actually. And
yeah,
then
so you have to go see him.
He invited us to Switzerland too to go look at the factory. So we're going to probably do that in April, which will be a very cool tour.
That would be very, very cool. Another one that was a little surprising for me was the Fears winning Innovative Complication on a standard jump hour watch. That was a little different for me. I understand there were some circumstances there, and the jury was hands-on with the watches that they had in possession, so that's great. Good for them. I love their speech, and I think the unfortunately Nicholas wasn't there for this event, but his representatives were really nice. I'm disappointed that the Mercury Marquetry didn't win the artistic category. That was a little bit our fault. We didn't get a chance to get the sample for the jurors to review. However, we did get some consolation. Late on Sunday, we had Bradley Taylor and Alexandre Beauregard come visit our booth. And Alexandre, our kindred spirit French Quebecers, they got to talking, and then they asked to see the watch, and they got to fondle it and play with it. And they busted out their loops that they happen to have in their pockets, as experts they are, and took a look at it. And they both looked up at us and in unison said, "This would have won if it had been there." So I'm taking that as a win. I don't care what anybody says. We don't have the trophy for it, but I'm taking that as a win. So that was great. And we hit it off. Alexandre invited me to his place to visit his workshop and for a steak dinner, and which I'm definitely going to take him up on it. And if I do, I'll write up a story about the event and all that stuff. Such a nice dude, man, for the amount of stuff that he makes. And I got to handle his Kerry Voutilainen. No, not Kerry Voutilainen. Halter, Vianney Halter. He had a Vianney Halter on his wrist. I asked to see it, so I took some pictures and I posted them on Instagram, tagging Vianney Halter, and Vianney Halter replied back with big hearts. I said, "Thank you very much for liking my post and this and that." And he replied back with some hearts and the Spock salute, "Live long and prosper."
Yes.
As I'm never deleting this post, even
That's
forever.
I had a chance to meet him really, really, really briefly when we were in Geneva last time, and it was because of Alexandre Beauregard, who was sort of like, I guess, manning his booth at Liesberg, and but Vianney was there, and he's just such a joy. He literally is. Again, there's another Tyler Frederick, but at the top of the Swiss watch world, like just an absolute joy. Very cool.
Top is not even begin to say, like, his craftsmanship. That watch was absolutely bonkers cool. And I remember back in the day, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, when there was a collaboration between Halter and Kerry Voutilainen and some others. I can't remember. It was a Harry Winston collaboration with these guys, and they came up with this wonky watch with multiple subdials that had their own crystals on the big giant watch. Anyways, I just remember seeing, like, they put themselves on the map, and then from then on, it was just skyrocketed into the future. So yeah, those are my moments for the work store. And just like you said, it was as grandiose, as beautiful as could be. It was amazing. I can't say anything bad about it. Again, I love the fact that it was nice and short. We were tired. This was perfect. Absolute perfection.
Well, one thing actually to do with the show that people might be interested to know is there was an issue with the live stream.
Yes.
Where the presenters had no audio, and that audio is recovered.
Yes.
So that's going to be coming. Yeah. So there's going to be, I'm not sure where that'll come out.
It's going to be on YouTube. I spoke to Jason last night. It's going to be on YouTube, and it'll be the whole thing with the proper, and you'll have all the camera angles, the close-ups, all that stuff that they were doing that we got to see, and it will all be with the correct audio. So I can't wait for that to come out, because I have audio of Jose accepting his award. I have audio from when I went up with him. The guys at Marathon videoed it for us, and you can hear them in the background. Oh, they're so happy for that. That's such a great work. And you can hear them, their excitement for us, which is really cool. And we were sitting right next to them, so it was really cool. So cool. It can't be a timepiece show without a TGN marathon party connected to it. So Brent and I attended the gathering, and somehow Bob was a no-show. Again. It was it's such a great event, and the fact that it was on Sunday. Now, it was on Sunday in Vancouver also, which is great, but I had a plane to catch that evening, so I had to leave early, and I was stressed figuring out how to get my ass to the airport to begin with, so I didn't get to really unwind. This time I was leaving on Monday, and my train was at 11:30, so I knew I could just hang out, have some drinks, and just relax and let it all, all the stress and the work was done and everything. Not that it was stressful or anything. It's just the work's done. Now we can unwind, and with our friends, with the other brands that were there, and our collectors, and the other enthusiasts and personalities online. I had a wonderful time. Now, despite Brent and I being in the same room for 4 or 5 hours, I think I spoke to you for 5 minutes, maybe.
That's probably right.
We were both spread out like in these different spheres. And there's something about being at this event, right? So Jason from the TGN. Yeah, Jason, he was there, and James Stacey was there. And I spoke to Jason Heaton last year on the couch. We talked for a little bit, and I kind of fanboyed a little bit on the guy, and I like an idiot. And I'm sure he gets it all the time. And we're starting to get that too. There are people coming up to us talking about things that we'd mentioned about our lives or whatever, and it's kind of surprising coming out of a stranger. So I get it now. That was that idiot talking to Jason, and then I ran into him waiting for the bathroom. He talks, he says, "Oh, lots happened since last year, and he's happy for me. I stoked this and that," and got to talk to him a little bit. And then I sort of got to speak to James for a few minutes standing. He was just happened to be standing by himself, so I went up and said hello, and thanked them for inviting us and this party and this and that. And I had a few beers by that time, and I probably sounded like a freaking idiot. And I just hope he doesn't hate me. I feel like an idiot. Like there's nothing to fanboy about. He's a podcaster like us. He's a writer just like us. He just happens to write for the most important blog out there right now. And I was supposed to work for him. I mean, he had even given me an assignment to write about at one point, which I wound up having to cancel or turn away because of my work with Isotope, and it wouldn't quite work out to be representing a brand and writing about other companies or something. It just conflict of interest, and I get it. But it was nice seeing him. But it was a little uncomfortable, that conversation. But everything else was great. I mean, I got to speak to Lucy. I got to hang out with Anna. I got to speak to Sean Bush. Hung out with us. Gave us all challenge coins, which I have right here. Did you guys get one of these?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have another one too. He went back out to the Jeep and got me another one.
Yeah, so he explained this to Anna because she didn't know what a challenge coins was, and neither my wife or kids. So in the military, everybody carries one of these coins, not necessarily a marathon one, but one that you've earned, right? So Sean has one that he got when he first jumped out of an airplane when he was in the Airborne Division in Canadian military. So it's a really nice brass coin with wings and a parachute, and it's gorgeous, right? So you carry this thing with you, and when you encounter other service people at a bar or something, and you pull out the coin, you slap it on the counter, that guy has to have a coin on him. If he doesn't, he's buying the drinks. And if he slaps his coin on the counter, then you're buying the drinks because you're the one who challenged them. So that's what they call challenge coins. So we were doing that all night, but the drinks were free, so we're just. So yeah, that was my event. I love that home. Jose was in awe of the place.
Yeah, for sure.
He absolutely loved it. It's completely his style, the architecture, and Marty, whose home it was, the vice president of Marathon, was explaining to him that the beams that they made the stairs out of were his partner's parents' tree that they cut down, that he converted into these beams for some of the stairs, some of the ceiling posts and stuff. It was amazing. The food was great.
That's been a work in progress for he and his partner for 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
Each year they pick another area and away they go. And it's literally, I think, the most beautiful home I've ever been in.
Yeah, and it's been in Suits. It's been in multiple different TV shows and movies. And he says that when these people come up, they put us up in a hotel, and he says, I don't want to see anything. Just, I'm out of there. And then when he comes back, it's spick and span, like they clean it all out. But he says that something like 500 people show up from the crew all over the house, like just... and then they do their thing and then they leave and clean up after themselves, and apparently it pays really well too, so it's great. So good for him.
That's cool.
Phenomenal.
How much fun did you have, Brent?
Well, it started off as it usually does, as simply blowing off steam, setting into that easy rhythm. Marty is such an amazing host. Like, I think I had a hug before I was through the transom. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, and Sean Bush was there, like you say. It was great. But
his wife was there too.
Yeah, that was the first time I met her, actually.
Yeah, she was super nice.
Oddly, though, as the evening progressed, I ended up in these very intense conversations. It started with Jason Gallup from Roldorf, then Huey and Kirk from RZE, Marcus from Forumex, Peter from Jack Mason, and then of course most of my night was actually spent with Chaussee. Actually, it was our common friend and also the collector James Fournier. So we had there was the common theme, I guess, was about the degree of uncertainty in the world right now and how that trickles into the watch space and that sort of thing. And rather than be maudlin or upset or angry or worried, it was more like conversations about how do we get through this? What's our plan here? How can we work together moving forward? And one of the things I noticed about that particular party is that, how many times do you go to a room where you've got like that whole triumvirate that's there? You've got the producer, you've got the collector, you've got the media, and all of us felt like we were equal stakeholders in protecting this thing that we all love, And so it was a really cool time. It was a really cool conversation. And like you say, maybe a beer or two too many, or with the whiskey that was brought out later or whatever. But it was just a great culmination to a really, really great weekend.
And think about it, the amount of brands that were there, all sharing knowledge and passion together. What other industry do you know that you'd have competitors all in the same room, just having a good time together and trying to help each other out through difficult times? That's amazing.
Absolutely.
You guys should have been with me, though. I was doing teardown with banners with Jason. It was so awesome. I was going to go, actually. So I had to do a presentation thing on Monday. If I could have got there at like 7 or 8, I would have gone for at least an hour or two, but
an hour or two. How late were we there? We were there till 11:30 something when I took the Uber back to the hotel. Maybe later.
Or it was even
I wouldn't have gotten there till probably almost 10, so it just didn't jive.
It'd have been fine.
But
although you would have been sober and the rest of us would have been blitzed, so it'd have been different.
Yeah.
It probably would have been fun for you.
I had a pickup truck. I could have chucked you guys all in the back of the pickup truck and drove you home.
It was a good time, man. I look forward to that party. Like, it's the culmination of all that entire weekend. And and then I went back to the hotel to sleep on a really bad bed.
Actually, while I think about it, during the teardown, so I was helping Jason throughout the weekend. Big shout out to Geraldine.
Yes.
She's I guess like sort of the event coordinator, sort of planner. She's
event director. That's her title. Yeah.
She really helps bring the whole thing together for sure.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, she doesn't get maybe recognized as for what she does, but she deserves the recognition for sure.
Yeah, she's the puppet master.
Yeah, 100%.
That's probably accurate. So accurate. I got to. They had raffles for some watches that were donated by the companies, and I happened to be around to get a sandwich when they were doing that. And it says, "Oh, Mark, you want to pick the raffle for the Isotope watch?" I was like, "Sure." So I got that on camera, and I got to put my hand in the bag, and there were so many ballots. It was incredible. James Fournier told me, he says, "I got my name in there, so make sure you feel around and get mine." Okay, sure. They all felt the same. We donated the yellow one, the Amarillo, Camarillo, whatever it's called, the yellow Hydrium, which is actually car paint on the dial. And when you take off the stickers that are on top, it shimmers. It's gorgeous. It's a stunning watch. So yeah, the gentleman who won that was on site, so then he came to see us. We took some pictures with Jose, shaking hands and all that. That was really cool.
I saw him just after he received the watch, and I said, "Hey, we're Isotope Brothers." I had the Mercury on, and he went to do like almost a fist bump.
Oh God!
Watch against watch. I'm like, wow. he was a little excited, which I understand. But
yeah, that high gym would have destroyed that watch. Your Mercury would have broken another one.
I know, jeez, man.
So this is our third Canadian timepiece show that we've done so far. Anything you guys would like to see different or changed or improved upon, or any ideas for the next ones that you guys think would be cool? Yeah, Brent, we want to start with that?
Yeah, I think we could use a photo studio. I know that you've mentioned this too, Mark, about maybe wrist shots for the crowd, but even more than that, like even if you're in the media and you want to have like an actual studio set up, I was, taking things over to that one little area when I did that moonshot shot to get some natural light. But natural light, while it's great, when you're able to control the light 100%, you can really showcase the watch a little bit better. So I think it'd be great to have a photo studio available with an even better working space for media, one that has desks, the ability to plug in computers so that you can put stuff up as you're going throughout the day. You go there, have a sandwich, and then fire off some stuff. That would be great. I think we could also use a dedicated space for that. Those artisanal watchmakers like Lane and Bradley Taylor and stuff like that, and maybe Beauregard, so that they could be a little bit apart. They're not quite the same thing. They're not selling for the same price point, but I think people would just want to see them, if you told me that I was going to be interested in watches that looked like that 5 years ago, I don't think that I would have really understood that. I knew what I liked. I was pretty sure, what I wanted to wear on my wrist. And now my understanding and my appreciation has just grown from having seen them over and over again. So I think it'd be great to have that, and maybe even have a bench where they could ply their craft. You could actually see, for 1 hour, Bradley Taylor will be working on a movement. For another hour, you'll see Alexandre Beauregard, working on gemstones or something. And that would be kind of a cool thing for people that would raise the level of appreciation, I think. And then, really, though, frankly, what Jason has created is pretty hard to beat. RJ Brewer from Fratello said that it was better than most shows that he had ever attended. So that's saying something. That guy's been in the industry for a long time. He's been to Dubai Watch Week. He's been to Watches and Wonders. He's been to
the Basel Affairs and the way back, the original SIHH and all that stuff.
He's not the kind of guy that would say something like that loosely either.
No, he would not.
No, he would not.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't mince words and nice and concise most of the time.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, I mean those would be the only things that would be great, and that's just from I guess from a selfish point of view as somebody who works in media. But otherwise, this, like, what can you say about that place? What a venue! It's the natural light that's pouring in there, the high ceilings, the windows, the sinuous layout. It's a keeper for sure.
Yeah, he's keeping it. That's for sure.
Yeah, when I saw the floor plan originally, like the sinuous is I'm not a wordsmith like you guys. I'm thinking curvy, but but it like really worked great. Like how that was set up and the nice flow for people. Again, there was a couple of bottlenecks, but I actually like that because there's like the energy of the crowd, kind of everybody together in certain spots. But the venue itself was awesome. There's a couple of things behind the scenes, just sort of, and you guys, I know, talked to Jason a lot leading up to these and during these things. There's a couple of things that are not going to be seen by the people attending to streamline things. But other than that, I think like the show was excellent. For future shows, was a little bit of chit chat about maybe doing a beach destination, maybe.
Yes,
for someday.
I have heard.
That I can get behind. I would
an island timepiece show.
Yeah.
Yes.
I definitely
Island
get behind
time.
that.
I like it.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I think the photograph booth with the wrist shot thing is, I know I harped on that last episode. I think I mentioned it twice, but I really love that idea. If we could project it and everybody can have a chance to put in their wrist under there with their newest acquisitions they just bought or something they walked in on, walked in off the street with, that would be really cool. The specific photograph area for the media, that could be a little tricky because that means giving out watches for people to walk away with and going someplace that like Brent, we have no worries giving you a watch, or Brent giving you a watch, but some blogger who just started his own thing that we don't really know taking off with a $5,000 watch or more gets a little nervous. Plus, then you have your stuff out there. It's not on the table for people to see. If it's constantly one after the other, then that moonshot could have been gone all day.
That's
So,
true. That's true.
so I don't know about that. But yes, I think that there should be a photograph. Maybe, Jason mentioned something to me yesterday that he's going to be a little more strict on the media people on the Friday event. It's there for the creators, for the media people. It's the best time to do the interviews, to get hands-on with the watches. There's less people. We have more control over the inventory. I think that's a good idea. Do 3 hours, 4 hours, 3.5 hours, 4 hours of time, and then get all that out of the way so that on Saturday, you don't have someone standing there with a microphone on a stand trying to get an interview with you when you're 3 deep at the booth and taking time away from the fans and the enthusiasts. So I think that maybe, if you do the photo booth on that day, then that works because there's not a lot of people and we all know one another. So that would probably work. I forgot a question in all of this. Did you guys encounter any really cool watches on enthusiasts that, not part of the show, like things that came up? I've got one that showed up, three that showed up that were really cool. One was a vintage Omega Seamaster 200 meters with the yellow center with the black and red bezel. And he showed up at the isotope booth, and it was on an isotope rubber strap that was yellow, same as the dial. I thought that was spectacular. It was amazing. It was in NOS condition. That was really cool. Someone showed up with a Porsche design, early 2000s JLC Mecha Quartz Chrono, which is really cool. And then yeah. And my favorite was a Creedor. A guy came in with a Creedor with the porcelain dial, with the hand painted numerals on it, with the hand wound, what do you call it? Spring drive. Boy, oh boy, was that spectacular! Oh my god. What about you guys? You guys see anything really, really cool that was off the?
Well, that watch you just mentioned that belonged to Wonger Bonger, there, Daniel. That was one of the highlights. I really thought that was a gorgeous little watch.
Yeah.
And there was the collector that was there that we all know. He had some vintage Blancpain, and I wore one day and one the next day, and just really, really cool stuff. And one of them was one that I wasn't even familiar with. It had a kind of a tonneau case. That was sort of radially brushed on the top and stuff, and it was just a really beautiful, not at all what you associate with a Blancpain diver, for example. It was very cool.
I kept an eye on RJ's wrist all weekend, the different speedies that were making appearances.
Yeah.
I think he had the moonshine gold on for the awards. I didn't ask him to test drive any of them, but I did notice his wrist a few different times. Actually, Steve's the Pelagos, the Ultra. I tried that on, and that was a lot more wearable than I expected. Actually, I was thinking it'd be a lot bulkier than it was, but not bad at all. Actually,
Tudor has played with their proportions. Like what they did for the Black Bay 41. It's not, it's a millimeter thinner than the original one, right? But it's the way that they proportioned the case to make it less slab-sided. The bezel is a little thicker instead of the mid case being so thick. It just looks proportionally much better. And it was the same when I had it next to I didn't get a chance to have them next to each other, but compared to my Pelagos, I love it. I absolutely adore my Pelagos. But it is slab-sided. It is thick. It wears tall. But this one, it's 0.3 millimeters thicker. It's ridiculous. We're talking such small and insignificant numbers, but it's 500 meters more water resistant. It has a dome crystal, which adds a little character. Now they got rid of the rehaut on the inside, the slope rehaut with the cutouts, which I actually like about my watch. But there's something about it. Like you said, it is infinitely more wearable than mine. And I think that bracelet's different. Like I would have liked to have gotten side by side. So I'm going to make a trip out to the Tudor boutique that just opened up at Royal Mount and go take a look because the bracelet fit differently than mine. One thing that I do like about mine is that the back is stainless steel and so is the clasp. So it adds some heft to what normally would have been a very light watch. His is strictly titanium with grade 5 on the case back and the clasp instead of stainless steel. It still felt hefty. I mean, it's a 1,000-meter diver. There's got to be a lot of metal in there in order to keep everything nice and safe. So anyways, I was very impressed with that one. Yes, I agree. Anything else, Bob? Stand out?
Those are the two that came to mind right off the top of my head. Yeah, there was a million of them, honestly.
Yeah, it's hard to.
Yeah,
I only got out at the end of the day on Sunday to actually walk around. I tried on the collector's night, the creator's night. At the end, it was like 8:30. I went upstairs. I think I'll start with the top and then make my way to the bottom. I barely made it past Formex, and then we were closing down. We had to clean up and pack everything away for the night. Sunday, I did get to go walk around. I didn't get to try much on. Like you guys said, you meet people, and then they wanted to see the moonshot, talk about it. So we're doing that. I didn't try anything on. I don't think I put a single. Oh no, that's not true. I put on the Lumiere. I put that one on my wrist because I wanted to feel it next to my Pelagos. The rest, I didn't put anything on, which is very strange. So normally, when last year's Toronto Timepiece Show, I got a ton of wrist shots of other people's stuff on my wrist. And this year, not so much. And every year I think I'm going to go and I'm going to take the time. I'm going to take a ton of pictures. I'm going to take every booth. I'm going to talk to every single one. And I never do it. I never do it. But anyways, there's still more shows. I'm going to the New York show. We're not attending Wind Up, but we're going to the Hype, which is a small show that's going to be literally around the block from Warner & Wound's Wind Up. It's at the Draper Hotel. It's on the same days. It opens earlier than Wind Up, so hopefully people who are standing in line waiting to get in will come and see us. So I'll be there for October 17th, 18th, 19th, something like that. And then we're going to Austin in November for Hours and Minutes, where a lot of the usual suspects are going to be there, and that should be a fun show. I've never been to Texas, so I've been to Louisiana. I've been to Mississippi. I've been to Georgia. I've never been further than Louisiana, I guess, going west. Well, now that I've been to California, that's the furthest west I've been in the States. But anyways, so looking forward to all that. So that's pretty much it for our recap show event for Toronto Timepiece Show. On behalf of the three of us, I'd like to thank Jason, the event's producer, Geraldine, the event's director, and all their staff for pulling off such an incredible weekend. None of it could have been possible without their hard work, dedication, and passion. We're proud to call them our friends, and we look forward to doing it all over again twice this coming spring, in Vancouver in April and Montreal in May. The Time to Calibrate podcast can be found wherever you download podcasts. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email us at timetocalibrate@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram. Please take a moment and leave us a rating or a review. We'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Until next time, T2C out.